You are listening to Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Blytho, and my regular weekly guests, and we are all here to share the research, the science, and the strategies, as well as some of the fun, to help you to create a more active life. Hello and welcome to Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Blytho, and my guest, Ginny Gaunt. Hi, Ginny. Right. Ginny, as you know, this podcast is all about active lifestyles, and Ginny has a very inspiring tale to tell with a little bit of a shocker at the end as well, but a very inspiring tale to tell because you've described yourself to me as an expert exercise giver-upper. So you've kind of started and given up on just about everything, but you're actually, this time next year, will be achieving something that not many people do. So tell us what that is.
Yes, I have gone from being an expert quitter to booking myself onto a trek to Everest Base Camp.
Which is fairly impressive for somebody who's given up. So just briefly introduce us and tell us what you actually do in the real world when you're not climbing mountains.
When I'm not climbing mountains. So I'm a busy mum of two. I have a cleaning company and I am an online coach, mostly coaching in the area of accountability and self-leadership. Outside of that, I'm a slave to my dog and I love hill walking and eating chocolate and all the usual sort of stuff.
Which, sounds absolutely fab. So tell me a little bit about the exercises that you've quit then, or that you've given up on.
So like I say, I enjoy walking. I don't tend to get out that far these days. My dog's old and it kind of feels wrong to go without her. I don't know whether you can relate to that, but it feels weird. But in terms of, generally when we think of starting an exercise regime, we're really thinking about shifting weight, aren't we? And getting in shape. And we've always got those really big goals. And it's that kind of thing that I have historically really struggled to stick with. I think largely because I am very much an all or nothing type of person, which is so ADHD. It's like, I need to do this and make it a monstrous thing that I have to achieve, and I have to be the best at it. Otherwise, nope. And I quit. So things like boot camps and what other sorts of things. I tried Zumba. I've tried something called body pump, where I literally struggled to sit down on the toilet for about a week. It was awful. I'd get sort of so far down and then just my legs would just give out on me and I'd fall. Circuit training, all those sorts of things. And, I'm sure lots of people can relate to this. You'll sort of get really excited, sign up for something, and you'll go along. And, workouts are not supposed to be easy, are they? So they're quite hard. You'll keep looking at your watch thinking, bloody hell, how much longer is there till the end? And then the next day you kind of die because you're really stiff. And then you just don't want to go back because it's just quite hard. It's really difficult to stay motivated. Those are all the myriad of things I've given up.
That's a huge issue, isn't it? Is we quite often we don't know that we need to start a lot lower. So you think, oh, well, look, that class is advertised. It's bound to be okay. It's great. And you go along and you do it. And even if you keep up, you feel great. You feel good. You feel a bit tired. But it is, like you say, the next day or the day after, you sit down and you go to stand up again. And you think, oh, no, I'm stuck.
Yep.
I will never be out of pain. And you can't reach for anything because it's like, ow, 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 ow. And you regret hiding your chocolate in the top shelf because it's like, I can't do that. This is one of the issues, I think, with a lot of people who do give up is they too much too soon and unrealistic expectations. But I think as well, like you said, it's that sense of, if I can't do it well, I won't do it.
Yes,
but
exactly.
You forget the process of learning to do it well takes time.
Yeah, and it's kind of the compound effect, isn't it? 1% every day and all that. Don't ask me to go into that any more specifically because I just wouldn't be able to. I understand that it stacks. But, I think also we've been kind of conditioned to believe that if it's not hustle, 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 if it's not really, really hard, if it's not breaking a sweat, if it's not having like a PT yelling at us, then it's not good enough. And this is a huge point that I want to make and this is a huge, this was a pivotal moment for me, was actually turning and facing inward and meeting myself where I am and learning to love myself for who I am and dropping all that shame. And we all carry so much shame around giving up on stuff, not being good enough, not being like the people we aspire to look like or be as successful as, because we just want to belong as humans. So we have all this shame, and it's nearly impossible to thrive when you're carrying that on your shoulders.
So true. And I think, a lot of like some of the classes you've mentioned, some of them are actually quite complex.
Yes.
Never mind the actual intensity, the difficulty, but the moves are quite complex. And like body pump, you're putting the weights on, you're taking them off. Zumba, you're going here, you're going there. And you go away thinking, I failed at that. I couldn't do that. You'd never go away thinking that wasn't the right class or level for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I failed. And you're so right. And I think particularly as women, when we look in the mirror, we're looking to find fault.
Yes.
And it's when you stop doing that you actually, like you say, you have that moment where you stop looking to find fault and you start accepting yourself. And that's when you find it easier to find what you want to do. So how much enjoyment did you get from trying all the different things?
I mean, I think I like the idea of it. I like the idea of it. I don't like the struggle with exercise. I go running occasionally when I have time with a group, and I'll always be about 20 minutes in and then thinking, oh God, I'm only a third of the way. But afterwards you feel incredible that you did it and that you showed up for yourself. And this is another huge piece of the puzzle, showing up for yourself over and over again and building that trust, like strengthening that trust muscle, self-trust muscle. Gosh, that was hard to say. But actually, so in 2021, I separated from my ex-husband, and in the 15 years prior to that, nothing really was that enjoyable because he was a very abusive, controlling man, and I wasn't really allowed to do things. It was difficult for me to do things. So if I found something I liked, and actually running was one of those activities, he made it incredibly difficult for me to be able to go because, well, who's going to be there? Well, does that mean I'm going to have to look after the children? He'd make it so difficult that instead of being a release and a de-stressor, it was just piling on more. So since we split up, everything has become 1,000 times more enjoyable, even though logistically it's difficult because he's nowhere to be seen and I have to, try and organise babysitters and whatever. And there's a cost associated, obviously, with that. Now I'm free to really enjoy things without those additional stresses going on in the background and the fear of what you're going home to. And does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And I think it's something that as the fitness or the activity industry, we don't necessarily know about things like that. We look at the usual barriers of time and cost and all sorts of different things, but the additional pressures that people may be under are something we don't necessarily think about or understand. And this is where my catchphrase, I'm going to say it on every podcast because that's who I am, but it's get to know your client. And when people share things like that, it's helping people find other ways of doing it. So you've obviously done a lot of work, looked internally and now found something that you enjoy doing. So tell us a little bit more about what you do now that you enjoy.
So now I do the running. I'm doing a lot more walking, and I actually bought actually, I bought it a long time ago and didn't open it for ages, but I bought a little course from an Instagram ad that was a workout course, and it was under 10 minutes a day, doing core exercises and nothing that's difficult. I'm not very good at following what people are doing on a screen because it's back to front, but even I can do it. It's very simple. It takes no time at all. I built it into my mornings. It's every other day, and it takes you through 3 months, starting at beginner and you go to advanced. And they supply a little, like a calendar that you can print out. So I printed it out and I've got it in the kitchen, and I tick off the days. And, you know, the days where you're not working out, it suggests, you know, go for a walk or do this, that, or the other. And I found like having that visual has really helped me to stick to it. And actually, I was someone who used to really poo-poo anything routine based at all. You know, I used to really take the mick out of the 5 a.m. club and the cold shower brigade. And, you know, I was always mouthing off about people like that. And we, you know, they say that everything's a mirror, don't they? And we're always projecting.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's lessons to be learned. But I have a terrible memory and a very busy life, and I need reminders. So not only do I need to do things incrementally to stick to them so that it's easy and so that I feel accomplished every time, and I'm not letting shame creep back in, but also I need to set reminders on my online calendars, and I need paper reminders too. And I've used the Habit app. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
All these things just to keep me motivated. And I'm not competitive with other people, but I am quite competitive against myself. So anything that's sort of gamified helps me a ton. Yeah.
And that's so important, isn't it? In finding your way with activity or exercise is something that you enjoy, that you find fun, but that works for you. It doesn't have to work for everybody else. It just has to work for you. And that's what gets it. And, you know, it's interesting what you're saying about you need the reminders, but also that you like the visual of I've done it today. And we talk a lot about rewards and how every step that you take, every even small achievement, you should reward yourself. And it isn't just about a reward that's material or tangible. It can be placing a tick in the box, can be the reward. I did it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's so important, isn't it? That you've found a way to help you get there. So what's taken you from getting back to running and enjoying it and doing your core workout to Everest Base Camp? Because that's quite a big step. I mean, that's a biggie.
I think so. I guess it's a bit of compound effect. So obviously, I've been building in these things. I then I lost somebody very dear to me at the end of last year. He was actually my first mentor, and he was very into the cold showers and the routines and atomic habits, you know. And you know, it knocked me for six. He was only in his 20s. And kind of as a nod to him, I just felt inspired to try the cold showers again. I had tried it and dismissed it. And I guess I just had a different mindset this time, somehow. And it was very easy for me to build into my mornings, not at 5 o'clock. I will never be a 5 o'clock person, but just to get up, do these workouts. It's 10 minutes. I can do it while the kettle's boiling, whatever. Come up, jump in the cold shower. It's awful for about 5 seconds, and then it's really bearable. I mean, they're not long showers, but you know, it's fine. Wash what needs to be washed and get out. And then I feel really set up for the day. And I found that sort of building that into a habit has really helped me to feel a sense of achievement at the start of every day. And it's helped me to push my edges and wake up each day thinking, how big can I go? How good can this get? And really like carpe diem each day. It sounds so cheesy and ridiculous and far-fetched, but honestly, these were just things that stacked and stacked and stacked and built into this. And so I love mountaineering movies and documentaries, and I've read a few great books. I've never done any mountaineering, climbing, anything like that. I love the idea of it. And I stumbled across a competition on Instagram to win this trek, and I entered it, and I just knew it was done. And I can't really explain. It sounds crazy, but I just knew intuitively that it was done. And so the competition came around. Actually, I didn't win the main prize, but I won the second prize, which was a load of money off. And I thought, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to afford it. I had no idea how much it would cost. Anyway, I had a look and I could afford it. So I thought knickers, and I booked it.
Excellent. Amazing. And it's and that's tough in itself though, because I mean I've spent quite a bit of time at just over 6,000 feet, and that altitude's hard enough, so it's going to be a challenge. But
yes, I'm worried about that, I will admit.
But you know, the thing is, if you like hill walking, it's just a question of going up and down hills, but also presumably you'll be there early enough that you can acclimatise gradually. And then you won't be charging around. But you've added a little extra challenge in there, which is just brilliant. So tell us what else you're doing on the way to base camp, because this is just
and I don't really know what made me do this either. It was just a moment of spontaneity, I think. But I have I have applied to set a Guinness World Record whilst I'm up there, because I probably will only go up there once, I assume. I don't know, do people do it multiple times? I'm not sure.
I think people do, yeah.
So I am infamous among people who know me or people who know of me online for wearing Crocs. And I mean, I have the mick taken out of me all the time because I literally live in them. I've been sledging in them. I go hiking in them. I've been out in them. I don't take any other shoe on holiday. I'm just that really embarrassing person that lives in them. So I have submitted an application to be the fastest woman up to base camp wearing Crocs. It's never been done as a record before. Yeah. I don't know if they'll accept it, but if they do, then that's what I'll be doing.
Amazing. Hopefully they'll be fur-lined ones. Although you're used to cold showers. But again, sometimes when you've got this huge goal ahead of you, sometimes having something like this to keep you going along the way is so important, because it just adds that extra spur, that extra motivation, that extra momentum to keep you going. It's like, no, I've got to do this because of things like that. And it's I mean, it's going to be an amazing thing, and I will make sure that somewhere on one of my Facebook pages or wherever, we'll make sure we've got the details, or we'll pop it in the notes afterwards, but so that people can follow your journey when you start.
Thank you.
I think it would be a brilliant one, because I think it would be such good fun for people to see, not just the achievement of getting to base camp, because it's not just like strolling up a hill, but also doing it for Guinness World Record, as well, could be a really fun thing to do. So
I think so. And I always want to, because online there are so many, this whole Instagram aesthetic, the lifestyles, the cash, the gold balloons, the champagne baths. There's so much luxury in our faces and things that feel so unobtainable. I really am all about making the ordinary extraordinary for people. Your normal people living in a normal house with normal kids and a normal life. Say, you know what, maybe we're not jetting around the place first class, but you can still have a brilliant life. And I put videos on TikTok and stuff of me trying to do workouts with my belly flopping all over the place, because I think that we need to see more real women.
Yeah. And also, you're touching on things like luxury there. For some people, luxury is 10 minutes alone in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or it's being able to drink a cup of coffee with no interruptions. We think of luxury. Often luxury is associated with a high material value, whereas actually quite often it can be just a few moments on your own. It can be, for me, I'm looking at my garden at the moment, it's pouring with rain, But for me, it's sitting in the early morning sun, having a cup of coffee, and just
Lovely.
having those moments. And I just think we need to take the cost out of luxury and bring it into those everyday feelings and things. And like you say, you should talk to Crocs about sponsorship. Can I just say, people, you can't see, well, you might be able to, I'm not going to notice my leg up, but Crocs slippers here. I'm a Crocs lover. Love them in the summer. They're one of my go-tos, and I know a lot of people don't like them, but gosh, they're comfortable and easy.
They are.
It's for you, luxury might be the most expensive pair of Crocs, or it might just be being able to go for a hill walk without thinking it. We need those moments of luxury, but we need them to be meaningful.
Yeah, we do. And actually there is nothing more precious than time, is there? Because it's the one thing that's just ticking away all the time. So yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you just said there. Those moments are so precious, especially when you're a mum or a single mum or a single dad. They're few and far between. And I know, like with mine, they don't go to sleep until they know that I've come to bed. I've got one in bed with me. So there's literally very little time in the day, bless their hearts, where I can get away.
I know, but as I say, those moments are the luxury moments, and it's so tell me a little bit about how you're planning to get ready for your trek to base camp.
So probably just lots and lots of walking. If I get the Guinness World Record thing through, if that gets accepted, then obviously I'll need to just build a bit more ankle strength. I do hike in them, but nothing like that, clearly.
Yeah.
And the last day or two is over the glacier, and it's sort of clambering over icy rocks and whatever. They're not really designed for it, are they? So I'll need to just do a lot more distance work in them.
You can get the micro spikes and things. You could get a set of micro spikes for the bottom.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll figure it out. And I'm very lucky. I live in the Shropshire Hills, so I've got plenty of hills to choose from. And actually, my base level of fitness, even when I'm not really exercising, is way beyond people who live in flat places, because I'm obviously walking the dog and walking to and from school, and there's hills everywhere. I already have that sort of base level, so I'll just keep building on from there. I do some swimming and things too, and I'll keep going with this workout plan that I've been doing. I need to shed a little bit of weight. And then I saw a gadget to help you with your breathing. I think it restricts your airflow. Maybe it's just a little like mouthpiece thing.
Right.
But from what I've read, with the altitude sickness, it doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with genetics, fitness, anything. It just, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, it's amazing actually. It seems to hit it can be quite random. You can have two people coming from exactly the same altitude, low altitude, sea level or whatever, and both of them are same sort of fitness and going up, and one of them will get it and the other one won't. It's be random, but it is something to be prepared for. But the gradual ascent will be the key thing, so that you have a chance to get used to different altitudes, different levels, like that. But what's really good is that a lot of what you're saying about your preparation is everyday activity. It's not like saying, I'm going to go out and run for 6 hours every single morning. It's I will carry on doing what I'm doing and just make sure that I'm in the best condition possible. And that's to me, that means that we're all capable of achieving big things.
Yeah.
As long as we're realistic, as long as we plan, as long as we have that everyday activity, we don't necessarily have to go out of our way to do something huge.
Yeah, and actually you've just reminded me of something I really wanted to touch on was and I know a lot of ADHD people particularly are like this, that you really want to go all in on things, but actually you can achieve so much by filling pockets of time. So say you get back from your school run at 9 and you don't have to be at work till 9:30, you can do so much in that time.
Yeah.
And we tend to put things off because we think there isn't enough time. I'm dreadful for this with housework until it becomes a huge, mountainous thing that we can't possibly get on top of. But actually just slotting in bits and bobs of things in those moments, it makes a massive difference, and it builds that self-trust. It's showing yourself daily that you can show up for yourself instead of thinking, nah, I'll put it off till another day.
I'll wait till I've got more time.
Yeah.
And things like ankle strengthening, you can do little 5-minute bouts of ankle strengthening. You don't have to wait until you've got a whole hour free. It's right, I've got back from the school run. Before I do anything else, I'll just do this 5 minutes on wobble board or whatever you do it on. You're right, it's breaking things down into chunks that are manageable throughout the day rather than putting them off because you haven't got a big chunk of time. It's saying, right, I've got small chunks of time when I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, or when I'm 5 minutes early for the school run, I can do some squats, or I can do some whatever on a bench, or I can just sit and hold my tummy in. It's making the most of the pockets of time that you've got, particularly when time is at a premium.
Yeah, it definitely. And I think, like, for anybody listening who might be sitting there thinking, well, this is all well and good, but I'm embarrassed to go to the gym, or I just feel like it's such a big mountain to climb, or whatever. I always say, like, the first thing to do is start with self-love, then self-awareness, then self-leadership. But you have to start with the self-love. So you've got to just turn and meet yourself where you are and just accept what is, look in the mirror and accept what is, and just ditch the shame, because we really are all born worthy. We start thinking that we're not because of, parenting and social conditioning and all those other things that I won't go into now. But we are all worthy of love and success and everything we've ever dreamed of, in whatever body shape, whatever size, whatever fitness level. And that's the first thing. Then you become aware of where you're not showing up for yourself, of where you are cutting corners, where you're maybe not going up a level in the weights because that's going to be hard, or you're not increasing your run distance by another kilometre because that'll be hard. So you're playing safe and you're playing small because you don't grow when you do that. And then once you've nailed those two things, then the self-leadership becomes so easy. And that's how you can go from zero to hero. That's how you can go from somebody who quits everything all the time, whose own mother nicknamed them the faller, to somebody who books Everest Base Camp. That's how it's done.
That's so important, isn't it? Because, like you're saying, with your chart for the workout, every time you tick that off, it's I did it. It's another step. It's another reason to love yourself. And it doesn't matter whether it's a 10-mile walk or a 10-minute walk.
Mm-hmm.
You did it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we only look to the big achievements, when actually, for me, sometimes the smaller everyday ones are actually the important ones. It's not
absolutely.
The giant ones. It's the little things that you do every day that are really important. And the more we tick those off, the more we acknowledge them, the more we say, well done me, pat on the back, I did it. The more we start to think, I can do this. And then you start to think, actually, I am doing this.
Yeah.
You've gone from can I do this to I can do this to I am doing this. And that's the moment, like you say, where you turn and you're thinking round and you realise, not only can I am. And then you start to think, what else can I do? What can I do next? What would I want to try? And you start to realise that just because you try something and you don't like it, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I tried it. And that's the tick in the box, is I tried it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I'm not going to do it again. That's my choice.
Yes, and this is the self-awareness piece, because I do also say that quitting can be a superpower. We are so conditioned into sticking things out till the bitter end, right? but it's not always in your best interests. Sometimes it's a damn waste of time.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you got what you needed from the first 3 chapters of that book, or you got what you needed from the first half of that program that you signed up to, or you tried a class and it isn't for you. In which case, to stick it out is what? Self-flagellation.
And also, you potentially you're missing the opportunity to try something else.
Yes.
I've got books. There's a couple of books I can think of immediately where I've literally got 2 or 3 chapters in, and I've thought, do you know what? I don't actually care what happens to these people. I really don't care. Yeah. I'm not reading it again. Straight off to the charity shop. But yeah, that's time that you could be exploring something else that actually does light you up, that you do love.
Exactly. And, and it's just having the self-awareness, and this comes with time, to know where you're making a good decision for yourself and where really you've met your resistance and you're quitting on yourself. Because obviously there's a big difference, and we don't want to be quitting on ourselves because we just don't want to be serving ourselves up a buffet of evidence that we can't do things. We want the opposite. So it takes a little bit of time. But absolutely, I don't see any point in flogging something to the nth degree just to satisfy who? What? It doesn't make sense.
That's it. Sometimes quitting is the win.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Oh, Jenny, thank you so much for talking to me. Where can people find you and find out more about what you actually do, work-wise, as well as following you?
TikTok is probably a good place to follow me, and it's where I'll be documenting my Everest adventures. And my handle on there is at the Anti-Hustle Queen. And then I also have a Facebook community called the Anti-Hustle Club, because I'm all about living without hustle and shame. So if you go to either of those places, you'll find all my other links, Instagram and everything else.
So the question I ask everybody is, what's your favourite exercise and why? So I'm quite interested to know what yours is.
I'm sort of torn between horse riding, which I haven't even mentioned, because I was just a horse nut for years. And actually just walking, because walking's really easy. You don't have to put any thought into it. You literally just go out and walk. So it's very easy to do and fit in at any time. And it literally turns my frown upside down immediately. So I'm gonna pick walking. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I do hope that after you've completed base camp in your Crocs next April, you'll come back on and tell us how you got on and what you learned from it, because it sounds like this isn't just going to be a physical thing for you. It's going to be a bit of a learning journey as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about it in a year's time.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining me. See you on the next episode. But in the meantime, let's get out there and get active, and I will see you soon. Thank you for listening to Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Blytho, and my guests. Join me each week for more on how to create and sustain everyday activity, and follow me online at Fitness Career Mentor or Fabulous if you're interested in career development and more on creating active lifestyles.